Hello again. Some viewers will be familiar with Alex Belfield, who is a far more successful YouTuber than I, who has a thriving sideline in doing phone-ins and so on and live tours. I will confess that I watch him and I find him often amusing, although also pretty vulgar and occasionally completely loopy. He says in his latest video on YouTube, you can find it by just searching alexbelfield.com on YouTube, that he has a meeting with the probation service on Tuesday, at which he confidently expects to be sent back to prison to serve the remainder of the 5-year sentence he was given in 2022 for stalking. I won't go into the details of the case, but he was accused of, among other things, using his YouTube channel to say certain things. As he puts it himself, he was sent to prison for hurty words. He was released from prison on licence in June after serving 2 years and 9 months of his sentence, and immediately started up his YouTube channel again and arranged to go on tour. None of this went down well with the probation service, of course. You see, when you're released halfway through your sentence like that, the probation service is responsible for keeping an eye on you and making sure that you're not at risk of reoffending. You don't have to actually break the law. Being recalled depends on the subjective impression which those folk have of your behaviour. So, if a man who has been sent to prison for raiding jewellers' shops is released on licence and the probation service find that he is now spending all day walking up and down Bond Street looking in the windows of jewellers' shops, that might be a red flag. Or a man sent to prison for interfering with children, say, who takes sandwiches and a flask of tea and spends the day watching the children play in the park, might also cause raised eyebrows. I'm sure that Alex Belfield knows all this. And yet, he has, since his release, spent a lot of time releasing videos on YouTube in which he talks about how he was fitted up by the police and so on. This makes it appear that he is unrepentant, which I suspect is pretty close to the mark. And since some of what he was convicted for involved YouTube, it might make it look to certain people as though he might be on the verge of repeating the offence for which he was sent to prison. They have warned him about all this to no avail, and now they're saying that they have grave concerns and have invited him to a meeting. I don't think that anybody would be overly surprised if the police were waiting at that meeting to escort him back to prison. At least that is what Belfield himself suspects might happen. The trouble is, of course, that his livelihood depends upon being controversial and making fun of people like politicians, the police, and lately the probation service. It's how he makes his living. It would be sensible if he simply kept a low profile for the next year or two and didn't make any YouTube videos or release any material at all and stopped doing the phone-ins. However, this would mean that his income would fall to zero. You see the bind he's in. I sympathise with him, and I can quite see why he cannot stop talking publicly. His unique selling point is, after all, that he is outrageous and controversial. That's why people like him. It's why they watch him and listen to him. But it is that very selling point which is enraging the probation service and causing them to warn him constantly about his behaviour. This reminds me very much of some Greek tragedy, where the hero has a fatal flaw which the audience knows is going to bring down upon him the wrath of the gods and lead to his destruction. We know what's going to happen, but we know too that the flaw in the hero's character is such that he will never be able to overcome it, and that it's sure to be the death of him.